Good morning. Day 18, Protagoras. If I wait for perfection, I shall praise no one. For me it is enough if he reach the mean and do no evil. Tell the truth or at least don't lie. Since I praise and love all. Note that he uses the lesbian dialect here because he is addressing Pittacus. I praise and love all willingly. This is where the pause is to be made in speaking it. At willingly. I didn't know that. Well, unconsciously I did, because this is not the first time that I'm reading this. But I wondered at my own pause, and well, now I wonder no more. Who do no baseness, comma, so he's pausing mid-sentence. Though there are those whom I praise and love against my will. I praise and love all willingly, who do no baseness. So after willingly, the pause should actually be made. No. Willingly, who do no baseness. If then you speak with an even moderate degree of reasonableness and truth, Pittacus, I should never blame you. So I was reading about reason this morning and the love of reason. Even if you spoke with an even moderate degree of reasonableness and truth, Pittacus, I should never blame you. Because at least then you don't hate reason. What is the word D.C. Schlinder uses? Everybody's raving about. I can't even remember the word. But as it is, you have made an utterly false statement about something of the highest import, and it passes for true. Birds are noisy, I don't know if you can hear them. For that I do blame you. As it is, you made an utterly false statement about something of the highest import, and it passes for true. And for that I do blame you. That gentleman, I concluded, is my interpretation of the mind of Simonides in writing this poem. Oh, Simonides is saying this, in other words, to the other person. This then is addressed to Pittacus in particular, as if to say, my reason for blaming you, Pittacus, is not that I'm a fault finder, but I blame you, in other words. So I'm connecting what I read yesterday to what I'm reading now. For making an utterly false statement about something of the highest import. So I'm not a fault finder, but you said something very false about something very true. That, gentleman, I concluded, is my interpretation of the mind of Simonides in writing this poem. This exposition of yours, said Hippias, seems to me highly meritorious, of great merit, I assume. However, I also have an interesting thesis on the poem, which I will expound to you if you wish. Oh, good, more text analysis. Yes, another time, Hippias, said Alcibiades. So either Socrates, okay, although it's Alcibiades who speaks here, which is Socrates' favorite, but it does seem as if Socrates always gets an opportunity to make long speeches, and never allows anyone else to do so. And whether that is Socrates himself or Plato, I do not know. Yes, another time Hippias said Alcibiades. But at present Socrates and Protagoras must carry out their agreement. Let Socrates reply if Protagoras wants to ask further questions, or if he prefers to answer Socrates, then let Socrates do the questioning. Okay, so Hippias is a local and he wants to now also play along with the expounding game. But then another local says, no, we only have Protagoras here for a while. So let's hear him and Socrates interact, which makes sense. Then, said I leave it to Protagoras to do whichever pleases him. But if he is agreeable, I suggest we leave the subject of songs and poems, for I should be glad to reach a conclusion, Protagoras, in a joint investigation with you on the matters about which I asked you at the beginning. I can't even remember what that was about. Conversation about poetry reminds me too much of the wine parties of second-rate and commonplace people. Such men, being too uneducated to entertain themselves as they drink, by using their own voices and conversational resources, put up the price of female musicians, paying well for the hire of an extraneous voice, that of the pipe, and find their entertainment in its warblings. But where the drinkers are men of worth and culture, you will find no girls piping or dancing or harping. They are quite capable of enjoying their own company without such frivolous nonsense, using their own voices in sober discussion and each taking his turn to speak or listen. Even if the drinking is really heavy. I wonder if there's an illusion alluding to the symposium. I suppose there were many like those. In the same way, gatherings like our own, if they consist of men such as most of us claim to be, call for no extraneous voices, not even of poets. No one can interrogate poets about what they say, and most often when they are introduced into the discussion, some say the poet's meaning is in one thing and some another, for the topic is one on which nobody can produce a conclusive argument. The best people avoid such discussions and entertain each other from their own resources, testing one another's mettle in what they have to say themselves. These are the people, in my opinion, whom you and I should follow, setting the poets aside and conducting the conversation on the basis of our own ideas. Well, in all fairness, but this might just be my idea, Socrates was very much expounding his own ideas and not necessarily that of the poet in his text analysis, which is often the case when you discuss poetry or any other literature. It is the truth and our own minds that we should be testing. If you want to go on with your questions, I am ready to offer myself as an answerer. Or if you prefer, be my respondent, to bring to its conclusion the discussion which we broke off in the middle. It is the truth and our own minds that we should be testing. So I'm having a response to that. The more I read, the more I find that ideas that I had have been had many, many times through the course of history. And so some part of me thinks that A, originality is impossible, and B, well, I don't know. It could go two directions. Either someone who assumes that their own minds are sufficient, Our own mind is efficient, is a bit arrogant and ignorant. On the other hand, maybe they know that whatever has been fought could be fought again. And maybe that is more Socratic, because knowledge is a form of remembrance, I think, for Plato. And maybe if we gain the knowledge by thinking ourselves, remembering what has been said in the past, even though we do not realize it consciously, or by remembering by reading, or listening to others. I guess it's irrelevant which one we choose. It's more about the attitude. No. Maybe I'm just lazy to think for myself, and maybe I'm just too scared to think for myself, or too ignorant to think for myself. I think I'm going to stop there. It seems a very natural pause. Good luck today.